It's Friday, and it's time for a lot of people's favorite segment of the week, and that is audience questions. The first question this week is from Evan. Evan says, sometimes when I ask people why they do something or believe in something, they say it's my culture. And I respond by arguing, isn't that the same irrational thinking as saying it's my religion? David and Lewis, do you think adherence to culture can be just as irrational or ideological as religion? Yes, the answer is it can be. Adherence to religion and adherence to culture can be wrapped up sometimes in similar irrationality. But for the most part, I think that adherence to culture is far different, because adherence to culture in many ways does not require belief or faith in the supernatural, in that which we have no evidence for. So for example, if I say, you know what, I really prefer cooking in olive oil instead of cooking in butter, and I know that cooking in butter is fine, but it's just my culture because I'm Mediterranean, and that's just what I think is taste better and is good. I don't think that you can compare adhering to culture in that way to believing any specific literal religious sacred belief, sacred text belief. Now you might say, well, David, but that's a particular example. Yes, and that's what I'm talking about. That for the most part, when we're talking about irrational religious beliefs as compared to so-called irrational cultural beliefs, the implications and what those beliefs are predicated on are drastically different for the most part. Lewis, tell me if you disagree.
Well, to me, I consider religion to basically be the same thing as culture. And so I agree with you in that there are plenty of cultural, cultural tendencies or rituals or beliefs that, of course, have nothing to do with religion or gods or deities or any of that nonsense. And of course, like the cooking with oil, yes, a perfect example of that. And so I wouldn't call that irrational in any way, choosing to cook with olive oil instead of butter. But to me, religion is also culture. So I don't know if I agree with you. I mean, this question.
There are there are certain religions that are very closely tied with a culture, right? So
Right.
Judaism is a very good example, because when you have Judaism as a culture and a religion and an ethnicity and a people, there are very close connections between religion and culture in Judaism. But there are still many people, myself included, who have completely separated the culture of Judaism from the religion of Judaism. However, there are also many religions where the culture and the religion don't have nearly as much to do with each other. Islam, for example, is a religion that exists in countries with drastically different cultures. Christianity, a religion that exists in countries with drastically different cultures. So while there are ways in which one's religion influences their culture, let me give you another example that I think illuminates this pretty clearly. Dinner times. In the US, there's this supper thing where some people have dinner as early as 5 p.m. I mean, to me, I moved here from Argentina, where dinner is between 8 and 10. And the idea of a 5 o'clock, a 5:30, a 6, a 6:30 dinner, 7:15 for my life, for cultural reasons that have nothing to do with the religion here or the religion in Argentina or anywhere, has seemed crazy. Now, there's nothing rational or irrational per se about when people have dinner. To say, I like having dinner at 9, it's not rational in the sense that it is arbitrary, but it's also not irrational in the sense that we could say, well, it's just kind of a personal preference, right?
That's it. There's the difference between you eating at 8 being a personal preference or a cultural.
It's my personal preference because of the culture in which I was raised.
Well, it might not be that way for other people.
No.
Other people might not even think about it. You know, they just say, "Well, this is when you have dinner," because that's the culture.
How would they get the idea, though? Right, that's when you have dinner from their parents, meaning it was a cultural trait that their parents passed down.
Right, and it becomes inherent. So, yeah, this is more complicated than it should be, isn't it?
I think that my answer is, while we can find examples in which culture might represent the same type of irrationality and so-called faith-based belief as religion, for the most part, I tend to believe that cultural beliefs and norms and habits are not, for the most part, comparable to those of religion, broadly speaking. And we can, I'm sure, find counterexamples that disprove this generality.